top and number scrolling. Okay, we are live, I hope. Third time, fourth time's a charm. I'm doing a live feed of this mural, sky mural. I put this up, some pictures of this a little over 24 hours ago, I guess. I got a lot of response. And people were marveling at the sky, the clouds, as well as the scope of it. I used to do this all the time. I haven't done a lot of mural work in the last couple of years, and those of you who've been following me know I had a hip injury in 2013 that kind of slowed me up. Anyway, getting back to it, how I have approached this is layers. And what I'm going to do is paint some layers. I've got a new friend, Miss SJ, who is the homeowner, and she's now currently my camera person. I'm going to get, we're going to wait a little bit for some people to come on board before we show the whole room. So I'm going to be talking about this. Whenever I do something like this, this is a very limited palette. I have a dark blue that's grading down to a middle blue that's grading down to a very light blue. Well, those three values I have pre-mixed, and this is a combination of several colors. It's a cerulean blue, an ultramarine blue, and white. And then I started adding white from that base color. There's my mid-range, and then my third range I'm not even bothering with. Right now I'm sitting on a walkboard between two ladders, and that's giving me about the middle ground, middle area of this mural. Also in the clouds, people don't realize how many coats I put on something like this. They might think 2 or 3 passes. No, it's going to be more like a dozen or so passes. Also for color mixing, I also have this gray, which really isn't a gray. If you look at it, it looks lavender, and it was mixed with purple, orange, brown, and ultramarine blue and white. And I mixed up enough of that so that I can consistently use this same gray throughout the clouds. And I'm taking this on a roller to put my general color down. I've already indicated some of this cloud work with my brush, all right? And now I'm going back and smoothing some of this. The blue has been put on. I'll do a long shot in a little bit, which shows you the gradation. But the lower part is much rougher. I've been working to try and resolve the upper part of this mural. All right, and you notice as I'm rolling out to make sure I don't have a strong line like that. I want to make sure not to have that. A lot of times when I'm doing really big areas like this, what I'll do is I'll apply the paint with a brush to the roller, and I stay away from the two ends. And then I try and evenly disperse the paint in the middle of the roller. And then as I roll, I don't have to worry about the ends leaving marks. But this is just a finessing technique. It's like anything else, you gotta practice it. But you can see I'm getting a pretty good soft blend without any major lines. And after, I don't want to work too big an area because I want this to be wet while I'm working it. All right, so I put that down and I switch. People think I use really special brushes. This is a China bristle chip brush. I mean, it's the cheapest one there. You get it, any of the new ones, you wet them and you start scrubbing them like this because they shed. They're cheap, but they're lightweight, and that's what I like about them. They don't carry too much paint, and pretty soon they start to wear, which for this is excellent because I'm gonna scrub, I'm gonna scumble, and any of you folks who have been in my classes know that term. if you're not familiar with it, I went to art school to learn how to do this. And if you notice, I'm smashing the brush and I'm wiggling it around in random directions. All right, I've just dipped in the tip of my brush. I don't have much paint on it. I'm dispersing some of that. That's too much in one place, all right? And I'm just dabbing, and then once I've got it, I need to work fast. And again, and you notice I'm leaving some of this lighter edge. And then as I scumble down, I'm lightening my pressure. And I will go back and hit this area at least a dozen times before I'm finished. And I mean, I'm not counting. And again, because what happens, most of this is latex paint. I mean, this is wall paint. And wall paint goes on darker or lighter, and then it dries darker. So I'm not putting on a heavy application of paint because I need to see how it's going to dry. And also, since it's not really heavy pigmented, not like artist's colors, it's going to take more applications, especially for me to go white and go light. This is going to fade out, it's going to look gray again. And part of that is because I am scumbling, I'm breaking up the paint coverage, and so this color is coming through, if that makes sense. If not, you just need to take one of my classes or go to my YouTube channel and look at some of my tutorials. I've got some watercolor tutorials, some acrylic tutorials, some editorials. I did a feature on our local library because I just love our local library. And whatever else I want to talk about. But this was a very spur of the moment. We didn't plan this. This house is almost completed. It still has some minor construction things to be done. Miss SJ was, I think, visiting one of her neighbors and saw some of the work I had done in their home. And she called me a couple of weeks ago. So we are new acquaintances. But she really liked what I did and told me what she wanted, and I went, sure. So, here we go. Have we got any comments or any people? They are? Okay, I will get to your comments at the end. And to be supportive and helpful as I do these live feeds, if you share or tag people in the comments, that helps to get the word out. If you want to share it with your sister or cousin or neighbor, just type their name in the comment. Hello, somebody just messaged me. I can't answer you right now, but I will get back to them. I mean, the last time, if any of you were watching my last attempt at live video, I hit the camera and you got to watch a whole hour and 14 minutes of the ceiling of my studio. Isn't that wonderful? But hey, I'm learning as I go. I'll get better, I hope. Anyway, all right, so now you see I've got beginning to get the layer. Now this was my middle ground blue, and I also rolled and lightly scumbled it over a layer. There was a whole nother layer of colors. The hardest thing about doing a mural when you have people watching is I usually do a comp and they want to see immediate results, and it's just not going to happen because of the scale. It is just huge, and it takes a lot of coats. It takes a lot of steps before it starts looking like something, and I don't want to work too much in one area. I move around a lot. I'm staying in one area right now so that you can better see what I'm doing. Okay, so I've been using, the white I've been using is just a regular ceiling paint. I'm not going to endorse any particular brand. For years in Atlanta, I just go by all of the major stores, mostly Home Depot, and I pick up Oops paint. And again, some of these areas are beginning to dry, and you can see it's not as bright as it was when I first did the application. Right. Probably have another couple of days on this, but we will also post finished work, and then when SJ gets her furniture in, because you hear an echo because this is an empty house almost. There are a couple of lawn chairs in here and a dining room table. So that's about it, folks. That and my ladders. But that's good because if I don't have any stray drips going anywhere, I don't have to worry about having to cover all the furniture, which I did in all of the... In the past, I have worked in commercial spaces like restaurants and in private homes. I got to cover everything up. All right, so again, we're getting the very slowly developing the tops of the clouds. Okay, and when I'm using the house paint to block in that feel in those areas. And now the under part of the cloud as well. And you notice I'm beginning to feather in and kind of scumble the white down onto the blue. And as I'm using up the paint, you can hear I'm putting more pressure down. Okay, and what's going to happen as you scumble on any brush, the bristles are going to break. The bristles are going to break off, and there's going to be sometimes ½ inch, inch bristle left. Well, what you cannot see, but where I am at the angle, they'll catch a light, and I simply either wait for them to dry or I weed those as I go, so they're not in the final. And then this whole thing, once it is totally complete and the client has signed off, then I will top coat this. And this particular one's going to have a matte top coat, and that helps to seal it. As you know, with any kind of wall paint, it can be fingerprints or something could splatter on it, or a piece of furniture could mar it, and the top coat helps to seal it and to protect it. I was telling SJ about a mural I did in Columbus, Georgia, in Mother's Morning Out. It was over 300 linear feet of mural of the animals as they came off the ark. It was in the St. Paul's Methodist Church, I think was the name of the place. It was in 1996, and that was what I was lamenting about. I can't believe it's been that long. All right, but I went by a couple of years ago to add to my photo documentation, and the mural was still in great shape. We had put corner guards, clear corner guards like you do with wallpaper to protect. And the biggest enemy usually of my murals are the cleaning crew. As they're vacuuming or as they're moving furniture around, that's where most of the damage, if there is any damage. I was also back in Texas back in May, early June, and I also did some photo documentation of that mural in the First United Methodist Church in Gonzales, Texas. Again, I'll be putting some of that up on my YouTube channel later, but that one was done in 2000 and 2001, so that one's nearly 20 years old. And the mural was in great shape. The building has shifted, and some of the sheetrock had buckled, in an area or two, putting stress on the painted surface. But the mural itself was, looks the same as I painted it 20 years ago. It's amazing. All right, now for a higher contrast of white, now I'm going to artist paint. And this is craft paint. And I'm using a craft paint instead of tube paint because this is much thinner. Tube paint is just too thick, and I don't want to have to wet it down. I don't want the brush strokes. If you saw this at a severe angle, it would almost look like it was airbrushed. There's no major thickness of paint that you see. That's another reason for the scumbling. And so this white is actually going to be whiter. The ceiling white is now going to appear like an off-white compared to the artist paint. Now I put it on really thick right there, but you can see how much brighter it is. Okay. But again, I'm not going to put the paint on that thick. I'm going to be scumbling it as well, and I'm hitting just the very tops of these billows within the cloud. And again, for those of you who are commenting, I can't see it because I'm working, and I will be glad to answer any questions that you have after the fact. And we're only going to record for, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes. But I wanted to share, since there was so much interest and comments. And of course, this video will be archived, and you can access it if you didn't get an opportunity to actually see it live. But I'm honing my video skills, and all of those of you who have been following me for a while have laughed with my pain on the mistakes that I've made, but hey, it's getting better. It's getting better. Right now, like I said, I'm sitting on a walkboard, and I'm reaching as many areas as I get an arm stretch. I can also, this board is, I don't know, 8 or 10 feet. I've got it suspended between 2 ladders. I used to have a scaffold with rollers, but this was just easier to access and get in here. Okay, SJ's doing a long shot to give you the full thing. And she's been kind enough to record as I've been painting. So we have day 1. This is what, day 5? This is day 5. And after I get through, we'll put all of these clips and stills together to show the finished piece. So I paint, I keep moving around, I keep paying attention to other things that are happening. And now that's the upper part, which is higher in the sky, and that's deep blue. As we get here, this is a mid-range, so the clouds are going to be a little bit smaller, and the puffs, these billows are going to be a little bit closer together. And then when I get down to the very bottom, that's going to be treated in a very light manner because we want most of the attention to draw here. And this is going to be this is the main activity room in her home. The kitchen's over there, you'll see it in a minute. Kitchen, dining room, this is the grand room, and then the entryway is right over here. And behind me, which you're just gonna gasp, it's beautiful, is solid windows. Solid windows. And it wasn't enough, SJ couldn't get enough of Sky just from her windows, and she wanted it on this side too. And that's wonderful for me. Get a chance to make a new friend and brush off some old skills, because I have, for instance, a church in Gonzales, that whole ceiling was done Fortunately for me, it was a slanted ceiling. The highest point was at 25 feet and it slanted, so I didn't have to totally be on my back for the entire painting of that ceiling. But I did get a crick in my neck. And that was a lot of square footage. All right. And I work from the top to the bottom, just because of the same reason that you paint a wall that way, you're gonna drip. And I find an occasional streak or drip of one of those colors, and I am repairing that as I go. Again, I start the billows with the wall paint, and you notice at no time have you seen me paint like I'm painting the kitchen cabinets. I'm not doing any of this. It's even the rolling of the, okay, now, the rolling of the roller for the gray here was done away from me or away from the center. I have that color on my brush now, and I'm scumbling it up into the whites. This is to accentuate some of the billows. We had a different color scheme when we first started blocking in. I used, she had French gray on the walls throughout, cut by 50%. I got the original French gray and used that as our darkest value, and then went lighter. But actually, we decided to go with a little more color, which is nice. This is evolved. It's not unusual for projects, because even if you see a comp, to see it, it's like seeing a piece of wallpaper sample. You know, it might look great on that size, but then you see the whole thing on the wall and it has a different look to it. But I guess that's one of the good things about doing this for decades. You are flexible and you can flow and modify as we go. And again, you hear, I have several of these going right now. Sometimes if I'm working an area, I'll have one color on one. All right, for instance, here's the lavender, and then this one's the white. And if I need to come in with a little more lavender, I'll add a little bit of extra wet paint. And then that way I can be blending the two at one time. And I very seldom clean the brushes until the very end of the day, because I tend to keep different colors on different brushes. I'm not having to clean the brush to go from one color to another. And really big, I mean, this seems big, but it's not. Like that ceiling, I had several trays, and I rolled the several colors, and then I came back with a brush to do the blending. And because of the drying, the colors shift when this stuff dries. All I can tell you is that just comes from experience. And in my mind, I can come close. I can't do it 100%, but I can calculate about what it's gonna do. So as I'm putting it on, it may look a little raw, but I already know how things are gonna happen whenever it starts to dry. Is your arm getting tired? Yeah, all right. So now let's just do a quick tour. And I'm gonna come off the ladder. You're okay, just back up. this back up a little bit and they can see me as I struggle to get off this wallboard. Yeah. This was a lot easier 20 years ago too. I was probably about 50 pounds lighter back then as well. Okay. All right. So, okay, I'm coming behind the camera now. All right, cool. Thank you. Hey, Ruth. Now I can see the comments. Let's see. And here is Miss SJ's beautiful new home. Look at these windows, people. I'm hand holding a whole bank of windows. This is in Crossville, Tennessee, in Middle Tennessee. It's a home, and see, you can see the clouds out there. Furniture delivery is Thursday, so I have a deadline. And that's the front entryway that you see there. All right, and I'm going to back up to the windows. Sorry for the jiggle, folks. But you can see I have papered painter's paper up at the top and on each corner. And I have the floor covered. It's so nice not to have to work around furniture right now. There's the fireplace. That bucket and piece of paper is covering, I don't know, all the connections for the electronics that are going to go in. Those two plugs that you see in the middle of the big wall. A big flat screen TV's going there. And we're making the full circle. Okay? You want to go on camera? No, she's shaking her head no. Okay, that's fine. We've been having a lot of fun. And she's been spoiling me and giving me meals. This is a wonderful client to have. All right, this is over the fireplace. Hey, Nancy, thank you. Hi, Carter, you still there? All right. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. I think this is actually working this time. Oh, mercy. Maybe we'll have more live feeds. Now I'll come in close to this. This is more finished over here. All right. You see it up close. There we go. All right. Okay, I'm going to sign off. I think that's enough for now. Thank you so much for joining. And I am so thankful that the good Lord let me actually do a successful live feed. Hopefully many more to come. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.